Okay, so it is June 21st, and it's time for I Read the Clermont Sun So You Don't Have to. And this is the June 19th edition of the Clermont Sun. I took last week off, so I really didn't even look at that edition. My son got married, so that was a higher priority than reading the Clermont Sun. Okay, so let's jump right into the Clermont Sun for June 19th. The press deadline would have been June 17th. The paper is again 12 pages. So it is, again, I've pointed out it seems to be permanently down to 12 pages from a lot of times previously being 14 pages. So let's start rolling. Okay. So the number one news story in Clermont County for this edition is this conviction of a former sheriff's deputy. What you got to love about this is that the article is provided by the government, submitted by the Clermont County Prosecutor's Office. Nothing says hack journalism like articles that are written by the subjects of the articles and without any really reporting whatsoever taking place. So this guy apparently was involved in some sexual imposition, and a first time something came forward, he got fired, and then a second victim came forward. This reminds me of people like Sheriff former Sheriff Leahy telling me things like that, cops are like any other, situation. You have good ones, bad ones that never should have been a cop, ones that do a fantastic job, ones that are burned out and should quit, and so on and so forth. So they're not, perfect. They're better than most. And unfortunately, you have situations like this one where one violates the public trust. So it says sentencing is July 17th before Judge Kevin Miles. And in this article, the funny part is it says, I noted Christine D'Italio is one of the prosecutors. This is the crazy woman who came out and started chirping at me when the beard came out and started bugging me. And I'm like, who the heck are you? So any event, that's the lead story. And again, maybe Megan Alley, there would be something you could do to actually yourself be involved with the lead story, yourself be involved with actually journalism, not just reprinting articles that are put to you and then cut and paste journalism. So photo provided here, and we're going to get to my man Jake Dowling and the sports stuff, and you'll see that he seems to do real work and Megan Alley does not. Then there's a long article on canines, and it's a long article, and that's the second biggest news story in all of Clermont County. This canine thing, okay? So it's not. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not a big news story. The No Kings protest is a much bigger news story, and a competent journalistic enterprise could have done the No Kings protest and had comments from party leaders from the Democrats, the Republicans, etc. There also was a Clermont GOP Flag Day thing that happened in the morning at Sporty's, and I don't even know, they've never put out pictures of that. I saw like one or two pictures that people put out. It was not it was not 500 people. I think this No Kings thing was legitimately, I don't know if it was 500, but a lot of people. There was not a No Kings protest in kind of the eastern part of Hamilton County, like Anderson Township, Mount Lookout, Hyde Park. So I would assume that a chunk of these people in this No Kings protest were from Hamilton County. But I think there was one in Loveland. But I highlighted here, this is the entire article on this. This could have been the lead story. Large No Kings protest in Clermont County. That's actually to me, that's a big event in Clermont County. You have this big libtard protest happening in Clermont County. In Union Township, they could have had comments from Michael Logue, Joe Dills, John Becker, but nope, not Megan Alley. She has a couple of provided photos that are not that good of photos. No, apparently she didn't report this. And it says No Kings protests were held around the county, around the country, including in Clermont County on June 16th. Shown are pictures from a No Kings protest that was held at Veterans Park in Union Township. That's the entire article. That's the entire article. Okay. Uh, what an incompetent set of journalism this is. How hard would it have been for Megan to shoot over from Indian Hill, where I understand she lives, or she used to live, and actually do a news story on this? I mean, it's a big development, especially my understanding is Megan Alley is a very liberal person, and you would think she could do a competent article on this. But look at we've got the news in Clermont County for this edition is an article submitted by the prosecutor with absolutely no journalism at all on the part of the Sun. A big ass article about canines, which is takes up the largest part of another page, and the No Kings protest, one paragraph article. And now we have it's become formulaic, I think, that Megan has this like somehow dumps this stuff from ODOT and the engineer and just writes a big long ass article or cuts and pastes a big long ass article about road projects. And this is a recurring theme. I don't know if it was in there last week, but I think the week before there was another article just on road projects. Nothing against road project articles, but I'm not sure this is front page news. Here, this is the point, front page news. Now, I just broke the story that anybody who had half a brain would know about this girls wrestling team and a coach and an assistant coach in Milford. Let's see if the Sun ever reports this at all. The Sun basically is state media. Okay, so they only report things that they're allowed to report, and I think that's because of the payola on the advertising. So, but then we have the last thing we have down here is Clermont Senior Services World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And what's so fun, hold on, let's look at this. This goes on to another page, okay? But anyway, now I'm going to go look at this. We've got another set of pictures. You got to love this, okay? Look at the picture on the left and look at the picture on the right, okay? What? Like we basically have the same picture, except in one, there's a kid holding a check for 14.4. Why do we have two different pictures? Like a before the check and after the check picture? So anyway, let's keep going. There's Officer Blank, Lieutenant Blankenship. Based on experience and qualifications, he should be the chief in Union Township, but he is not. And he gets a lot of respect. We get this whole page on this canine stuff. Okay, nothing against canines, all 4 canines. We love our dog, but I'm not sure this was the number 2 news story in all of Clermont County. Then we've got pictures of Clermont Senior Services staff again and again. I don't remember that this paper ever covered the embezzlement while this guy, the head, I can't remember his name here, is pictured, the guy with the little goatee beard. What's his name? I don't know the Sun ever covered that. I'm going to scroll back up here to see if they have his name earlier in the article. No, because the Sun is too lazy to even caption pictures with who's in the picture. But that guy, the guy with the little goatee and the blue shirt on, he's like the head of Clermont Senior Services. And you look at this, and one of the things that I guess there's an old person in the picture on this in that picture right now that I have on the center of the screen. But otherwise, you just have staff, government taking pictures of themselves, presenting themselves with certificates and so forth about how awesome they are. All right, then we have the community calendar. We have the community calendar that is this one's a little not as bad. A lot of times the stuff has already happened, or you would never be able to get, by the time you got the paper, the event would pass. You got the Sudoku. So we are up to, let's go back and look at this on a page by page basis. Page 1, submitted content, huge canine article. No Kings gets 1 paragraph, ODOT and senior services. Then we're going to get down. We've got the whole page here on splitting up mostly the dog story and the senior services. Now we're going to get to community calendar and crossword. So we're 3 pages into the 12 pages. Now we've got opinion. Okay. Of course, we've got John John gets multiple articles every week, most of them having to do with more money for veterans. I'm all for veterans, but I'm still waiting for John to write an article about how there could be cut improvements in services at reduced cost in the spirit of Elon. Okay. Now, then we've got Andrew McAfee. They should update Andrew McAfee's picture because this is not what he looks like anymore. He looks very different than this, like he's had work done. Uh, but this is talking about broken property tax system. What's funny is we do have a broken property tax system in Clermont County, in Ohio, and in Clermont County. Why? Why? But he never says this stuff because we're relying on property taxes to fund way, way, way too much different stuff. Schools, police, libraries, mental health, senior services, on, parks, on and on and on. And, to me, property taxes are very feudal. When I mean feudal is in old time, a long time ago, because it's kind of like the king came up to your house, looked at your house, said, "Hey, you look like you're rich. You owe this much." And income tax is so much fairer. Fairer. I know we don't like income tax, but it's so much fairer than property tax. But Andrew talks here about the attempt to typical schlub. He talks about, it's a problem, okay? But we shouldn't do what's in some bill, probably, House Bill 335, because that would mean the funds are gone. And what is going to happen then? What's going to happen then with all these, you know, I highlighted a few paragraphs here. Threat to the long-term health of our communities. So, hey, Andrew, had an ass Andrew. Is it not a threat to the long-term health of our communities that people can't stay in the community because they get taxed out of their home? It's funny what a government piece of schlub you are because you only see things from the standpoint of government. Okay, oh my God, government wouldn't have as much money. Forget about grandma getting taxed out of her house. Communities are the degree that communities become mostly or all about government, that's bad. Okay, communities are about people, and the people are getting taxed out of their houses. And Andrew, you might want to go visit a grandma somewhere getting taxed out of her house and to ask her about what's a long-term threat to the health of her community. And so Andrew never has a solution here. It's typical politician. It's like somebody on the debt, oh, we need to deal with the debt, but we shouldn't do anything. Personally, I would love for this thing to repeal, to stop at the constitution level, stop property taxes, or this House Bill 335 to go through. Why? Because these politicians are never going to fix anything unless they absolutely have to. And otherwise, they'll always act. It's kind of like school levies, by the way. You notice how school levies, they always say, like, oh, property tax unfair, da da da. And schools can do income taxes, but they almost never do. And you say, like, okay, for 30 years, schools, you've been bitching that the property taxes are unfair and unconstitutional. So why do you keep doing property tax levies? Why don't you do income tax levies, which you can also do? It's disingenuous. Andrew McAfee has nothing in this article about how he would solve this, what he would actually propose to do. He just wants to make sure government gets the trough that keeps feeding in, and the hell with grandma, we'll take her property from her if we need to. Okay. So you got John's articles. I'm sure there's a big audience. There's an audience for John's articles, but it's kind of like crazy that this guy gets so many articles. All right. And then you got a letter to editor on SNAP benefits. Another typical kind of at the trough thing. Not against older Ohioans, not against, helping people where it makes sense. But I noticed nobody can ever say, hey, we have a $37 trillion debt. Okay, so we have to effing cut things. We have to do things differently. We have to do things differently. And there's two things. We need to act now so that fewer people are dependent upon these benefits in the future. But also people on the benefits today, we need to eliminate any waste, fraud, or abuse within them so that we can not bankrupt the entire nation. And these people, does this person, who's this person that read this? Jamie Herman, District on Aging, okay? Does she care about kids who are going to age also? We're all going to age, and those kids being bankrupted because older generations were at the trough and selfishly concerned only with their benefits. And so we need to balance that stuff out more. Okay. And then something about data centers. I don't know. I don't know if we have any data centers in Clermont County or why data centers is a big deal. Then we've got, now we're back to like news that's submitted content, Goshen, bunch of something about Goshen IT work based learning. Okay. Sounds good. All right. So you got Goshen article submitted. Now we're into Jake Dowling and the sports section. And again, Jake nailing it. Okay. You know, he's got photos, his own articles. Let's see how many pages of good content Jake has here. One, two. Although I think this bottom one here is submitted. Two, let's see. Well, it says from Sun Sports staff reports. I don't know what that means, but that's Jake's purview. But it's not Jake Dowling bylined. Okay, two. This one is the top one here is about Milford. You know, I wonder if Jake will report on Milford and inappropriate activity involving coaches and members of the girls' wrestling team that were not reported to the police by the school, as far as my sources have told me. It took a parent coming forward. The school tried to cover it up, and the athletic director, in my mind, if he was in any way involved with not reporting, that guy should never work with young people again. If he knowingly did not report credible allegations of a sexual nature involving the people on the wrestling team and abusive coaches, an abusive coach, and a whistleblower. It appears that the athletic director at Milford fired the whistleblower. And then I'm getting people coming to me saying it's not the first time. Okay. So, but congratulations to these Milford athletes. And I feel bad for people who have been affected by the lack of proper management, really, at Milford. And by the way, if what I understand is true about this situation with the girls' wrestling team, I'm going to say something here that is might sound bad, or somebody might argue with me. Is my point is you're always going to have creeps. You're always going to have creeps. Okay, you should do everything you can to prevent, to screen them, to keep them out, to make sure they're never in a situation to be creeps. Like I remember when my kid was in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and they could never have a meeting one on one with a leader. They always had to be in eyesight of other people, stuff like that. You're always going to have that, and you're going to weed it out. And it's unfortunate. And hopefully you can minimize it or make it so infrequent that people forget that you're going to still have creeps in the world. But what's unacceptable, what is 10x unacceptable, is when you have board members and administrators who cover something up when they become aware of it. And that's what it appears has happened at Milford. Okay. All right. But congratulations to these athletes. Okay. New Richmond athletic director. Okay. And then I think that I miss here. Well, there's an article by the gentleman that does the Dollywood guy about the Reds. He's in here every week. But here's the payola section. So here's where the government has to pay for public ads, for legal ads. And so this is what keeps the newspaper afloat. It's basically taxpayer money. And this is why the newspaper will not probably print anything that is critical of Clermont County government or anybody that places these ads, because I think the Sun is a pretty marginal operation. And if the government were to get mad, they could always change the ads to go to like the Enquirer for a while and drive the Sun out of business. Okay, would not be hard. And so then, here's Matt's take. So Matt, the gentleman, Matt Gato, who does an article typically on the Reds, and my favorite article still of his that I always say was when he went to Dollywood, and he told us about his trip to Dollywood. All right, and so now we are up to page 11 of the Sun, and we got some more Jake Dowling content. So we've got changes in the number of football playoff qualifiers. So let's go back here. I'm at the big pages right now, and we got Jake's got 1, 2, 3, 2.25. Okay, let's put those together. We'll say 3, 3 good pages of content relating to sports. So hats off again to Jake Dowling. As far as I can tell, the only reason to get this paper is if you appreciate Jake Dowling's reporting and work. All right, so that gets us through the Sun for the week of June 19th edition, which means it is time for ad. There we go. Again, I don't understand why the Jungle Gyms ad is in the versions you buy, but it's not in the online version. If I was Jungle Gym, I would tell them, put my ad in your online version also. Okay, so what's this? This Saturday. Now I go down and I always download right before I do this the latest, and I don't know when this is this Saturday, if it's this Saturday or the Craft Beer Festival. I have to get some beer. But Jungle, you might want to make sure that you put the date on whenever you put stuff like this. Yeah, the Craft Beer Festival is today. Craft Beer Festival is today, okay? The 21st. And 400 plus beers, 100 breweries. And so I do have the absolute right ad here. So the 21st, today's the Craft Beer Festival. Tickets available at junglegyms.com Beer Fest, 1 to 5 p.m. and then I guess 6:30 to 10:30. So you can maybe if you get if somebody's got an RV, you can sleep it off for an hour and a half, and then get right back to the beer drinking. Get another session ticket. You must have to buy 2 tickets. I wonder if the tickets might include. Sounds like a pretty good deal. Let me look at what the tickets include. I don't know. I'm not going to have time to read. I should have looked this up beforehand, but I don't know. Maybe you buy some tickets and you get some free beer or something like that as part of the ticket. So, but any event, there's 2 different sessions. You can sign up, and I'm sure it's a good time. All right, and then the Dora area in Eastgate, so you can also get a Dora cup and just walk in and sit around in the park. All right, so let's see what they got otherwise at Jungle Gyms this week in their ad. We've got again, I pride myself on never having been served a fish with a head still on it. My wife loves these Dots pretzel things. Save $2.50. They're delicious. If you've never had them, they're like seasoned pretzel sticks, and give them a shot. That's probably a good price. They got it right on the front of their ad. $4.99, $2.50 off. Okay, a lot of beautiful meats. I'm gonna pass on the octopus myself. I'll choose a burger instead of that, and you've got some lunch meats, exclusive deals in the app. So apparently there's some deals you got to do in the app. So I'd get the Jungle Gyms app, and don't forget the Jungle Gyms podcast. More meats. They've got a ton of good quality meats and stuff like this. Seafood out here. I'm looking for things. I like the hillbilly cheap ass things. And we'll see if they pop something here. Really like cherry juice. I got to get some of those. I love cherries. Okay. And I don't know that I've ever had. I probably have, but cherry juice. Okay. It's probably delicious. I probably love it. Bugles, 2 for $4. Bugles are delicious. Probably not good for you, but they're delicious. Gold Star chili. Tasting cups. We know what those are for us. Shot cups. Mini red cups for your liquor. Sunny D. Anyway, get yourself a bottle of vanilla vodka and mix some of it in with Sunny D. It's delicious. It's like drinking a creamsicle. Vanilla vodka and Sunny D. I call it Sunny V. Some bakery stuff from Jungle Gyms. And they normally have the booze at the end. You got always have some good ethnic and regional and different nationality stuff down here. They always have some interesting toys and toy stuff. I'm not going to buy any of it. A lot of it's kind of creepy to me, like these cute, fun, classic, like weirdo things of my dreams. Pops. down here, different unique pops you can't get anywhere else, I don't think. And then finally, you've got some of your alcoholic stuff right at the end, some wine. Everybody knows Jungle Jim's has a huge selection of wine, beer, and other things. Plus, it's Beer Fest this week. So that is the Jungle Jim's ad. The things that popped out to me, Simple Chris, Sunny D, um, probably Grater's ice cream. I don't know if that's a good, but that's you know, I've said before, Grater's ice cream. I love Grater's ice cream, but I only like vanilla of it because it's so expensive, but it's so good, and their vanilla really pops the taste of vanilla like nothing. I feel like the other ones, when they start mixing other stuff in, it becomes you can't notice how much better it is as well as you can when you just compare Grater's vanilla to any other vanilla, in my mind. And let's see what else. Did we got anything else here? The app things and just in the Dots pretzels. I got to head over there. The Dots pretzels. My wife will love that. Getting her some Dots pretzels because those are delicious. All right. So that is me reading the Clermont Sun so you don't have to for the 19th edition, the June 19th edition of the Clermont Sun. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great Saturday.